Welcome to On A Biz, a television program of international, regional, and domestic events and a casual business talk. Today, we are at the Faculty of Communication Arts, Chulalongkorn University, to cover a seminar on online freedom and national security. This happened because of a recent incident where police targeted 4 Thai individuals for spreading false rumors about a possible coup. Now let me bring you to the seminar at the Chulalongkorn University.
Biz Overview.
Today's event is a seminar on online freedom and national security, organized by Thai Media Policy Center of Faculty of Communication Arts, Chulalongkorn University. This seminar is prompted by a recent incident in which the Technology Crime Suppression Division of the Royal Thai Police has targeted 4 individuals for spreading false rumors about a possible military coup. The rumors also call for people to start stockpiling food and water for the coup. The police have also said that they would monitor people's communication through social networks such as Facebook and applications such as Line and WhatsApp. Speakers at the panel discussion are Sermsuk Kasitipadit, News Editor of Thai PBS television station, Police Lieutenant Colonel Santipat Promachun, Deputy Superintendent of the Technology Crime Suppression Division of the Royal Thai Police, and Atit Suriya Wongkun of Thai Netizen Network. I myself, Sinfa Tansarawut, also joined the panel in my position as an independent media lawyer. Panelists discussed greatly about the Computer Crime Act, which is the main legal tool Thai authorities have applied to crack down offenses committed via the internet and social network. In the Biz chat, I would talk to Assistant Professor Pirongrong Ramasu from the Faculty of Communication Arts, Chulalongkorn University, and then Kun Gayatri Ventikeswaran, Executive Director of Southeast Asia Press Alliance or SEPA. Now, let's join me in the Biz chat. Hello, Ajahn Pirongrong.
Hello,
Thanks for joining On A Biz. Today we are at the Faculty of Communication Art, which have a panel discussion on online freedom and national security issues. So, as a lecturer on journalism here, what do you see is the current issues of national security in terms of in its involvement with online and freedom?
Okay, in the most recent incidents, as reported in the news, we've seen the move by the Technology Crime Suppression Division at the Royal Thai Police. They have summoned in a few people for interrogation regarding a posting on their Facebook page, which concerned a rumor about the coup. And the fact that people, if the coup should take place, people should start hoarding food and water and so forth. And that's one incident. The other incident is when the same unit, the same police unit has issued not really a statement, but made it public that they will start looking into line communication, the chat apps, the online chat apps communication, focusing on 4 groups of people. I think it's the people who are suspect of illegal crimes like child prostitution, drugs trafficking, illegal weapon trading, and
gambling. I think
gambling. Yes, illegal gambling. Anyway, these 2 incidents has created quite a bit of a stir, I think, among social media users, because they feel that the social media is a space where they could freely express their idea, and it's unlike traditional media because it's the users who generate the content rather than professional journalists through a very hierarchical line of editorial process.
So, don't you see that the spreading of information that there will be a coup is a kind of spreading falsified information?
I don't think I'm at liberty or in the best position to make that judgment, because I think that's really, I mean, from my own personal point of view, I think the intent is probably the key thing. And because I think you're referring to Article 14, section
Section
1 in the
Computer Crime Act.
Yeah, Computer Crime Act.
Section 14.
Clause 1.
Paragraph 2,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Section 14, 2.
Yeah, which refers to important to the computer system false information that could lead to public panic about something. Well, I think it's really subject to legal interpretation. So I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an attorney, so I'm not at liberty to say. But basing on the case that we talked about this morning, Kun Samsuk Kasidi Pradit, who is a veteran journalist, is the one who posted, is one of the 4 people who posted I think several people posted the comments. But he's the one who shared the comment. My apology. He's not the one who originated the comment, but he shared the comment from some other place, and then he put his own comment afterwards in the next posting, analyzing that the unlikelihood of the coup happening, and he gave reasons why. But in any case, because he shared that original information, which could be construed as violating that section of the computer crime law. So I think it's questionable.
And Ajahn Pirong, you have raised during the panel about the different natures of traditional media and social network or online media. Could you tell us about the difference here?
Okay, in terms of traditional media like radio, television, and newspaper, when you talk about news, there is a clear editorial line or editorial process in which content will be filtered through this hierarchical line of responsibility before it's actually broadcast to the public. So, I mean, a certain level of care is taken before the content is actually published, right? But when we talk about social media, I think it's the other way around. But while we can talk about traditional media as filter then publish, but for social media, it's rather publish and filter. The reason I'm saying that is because anybody could be the generator of content or publisher of content in social media. So, but once you publish it to your circle of friends or your community of followers or whatever, if the information is false, that community will start correcting it, will start validating the information. So it's rather you publish first, and then the community around you will help filter the validity or the reliability, the accuracy of the information.
But what if in the Thai society we don't have that enough number of educated people that will be able to in the position to rectify the information?
It's hard to say. I think it involves a learning curve. I don't think it's education per se. It's the learning. It comes with the social learning with the new media, and the learning curve would be small. You know, with every technology when it first diffuses, but then it will start accumulating. Like, you know, we see tons of hoaxes, internet hoaxes when we first became internet users. Then as we, you know, our years of use have gone by, and then we learn to become more literate and become more restrictive, even in believing, or even in social media. In the beginning, lots of people were just accepting anyone as friends, but as their years of use, you know, increases, they become restrictive in accepting friends. They would only accept people who they actually know, because you don't want your circle of friends to spread so much, because you don't want to share a lot of your information, most of it personal. Yes.
Well, how do you view the trend now that the traditional media, they will just some reporter probably just spend their time looking around the social media and pick up some of the controversial issue, controversial picture or controversial video clip, and then just without verify it or check the accuracy, start to spreading around or publish in their own media. How you?
I think they call that journalism. It's not journalism, it's churnal. They're just churning it out. Just churning it out of nothing. It's like you're churning butter out of just a few drops of milk, that kind of thing. So I think that's something to be really, really watchful for. I mean, in terms of the readers and the users of social media and whatnot. And that's why we have to be more literate, you know, in about the new technology, as well as the social context surrounding it. Like in Thailand, this is a context of a deep and a very a deep political and ideological divide. So people will, I mean, in that kind of context, people will start using anything, not only medium of communication, to get at each other. So you see a lot of propaganda, a lot of even hate speeches, you know, flowing around. So and a lot of hoaxes, a lot of lies, and a lot of things. So you have to learn to differentiate between facts and lies and propaganda and whatnot.
So with back to the incident that you just mentioned earlier, that the police has point out for people. I think that they say that two of them have already been interrogated, including Kun Serm Suk of Thai BBS. Do you think that this incident has now created some kind of chilling effect or create a fear atmosphere among the social network user in Thailand?
I'm not really sure about chilling effect or climate of fear, but it is amounting to that in the end if this continues. But because a lot of people would not stop and give in, you know, to that kind of movement from the police. So like people like the Thai Netizen, which is an advocacy group for online freedom, have gone all over the places in the media to, well, like you said, educate the public about, you know, online freedom and the limit that the police could go so far as. And so I think it's this balance that wouldn't, if it's only the police who move, then yes, the chilling effect and the climate of fear will be the end result. But if the other side, you know, would not give in and give that counterattack, counter move, then the society will see both sides, and then they could decide. And the fear that could be the result of the move by the police would be reconciled somewhat.
So today, I, On A Biz, have learned a lot from Ajahn Pirongron, and we also enjoy about the panel discussion earlier very much. This is not the first time that Ajahn Pirongron is with our program, and I believe that she will be with us again in the very near future. ขอบคุณอาจารย์ Pirongron มากนะครับ
ขอบคุณค่ะขอบคุณค่ะ
Hello, Kun Gayatri. Thanks for joining On A Biz. Recently, we covered a seminar on the topic of online freedom and national security at Chulalongkorn University. So we already have covered some of the domestic aspect of the issue. And you, as the Executive Director of SIPA, which is Southeast Asia Press Alliance, maybe you can give us a wider regional aspect of the issue. So what is the issue now in ASEAN countries?
So firstly, Kun Sinfa, thank you very much for the opportunity. This is actually a very interesting topic, or very current, because at SIPA we monitor how users use the online space and how states actually respond to what we can say as critical critical information or responses. And one of the most obvious trends, I would say, is that in some of the responses, the national security argument becomes the key argument in order to either control or to actually curb such expressions. So everywhere from Vietnam to Malaysia, Singapore, and also Indonesia, which, like Thailand, is said to be more democratic, the states have used the argument that we need to protect national security, and therefore it justifies online controls and regulations. So it can be in the interest of religious sort of religious rights or expressions. It can also be the state sovereignty. It can be the governments, for example in Malaysia. And also in Malaysia we have to protect the monarchy, the royal institution. So all these are lumped together in the interest of national security and many times cited in order to control the internet space. So I would say it's a very, very obvious trend, and often it's very difficult to argue against national security, because it's always the privy of the states to define what it is. And so it's always a losing battle when it comes to challenging the state's actions.
Could you give us some of the more concrete pictures, maybe from your own home country, Malaysia, how some other government in the region have been using national security as an excuse to restrict online freedom?
I will cite two examples, one in Vietnam, which I would say is on the very serious side, and another one from Malaysia, where I would say it's a trivial case and yet it falls under national security. So in the case of Vietnam, issues of sovereignty that are often not covered by the mainstream media become the topic for bloggers. This is in relationship to China, for example, the issue of South China Sea, the contestation for the islands. And so there are, in the last few years, people have been voicing their concerns, which are in fact to protect the sovereign state against China. And we do know the relationship between Vietnam and China that is very close. So there's pressure from the Chinese government to clamp down on some of the expressions. And so some of the bloggers have been arrested and charged under the Penal Code, Article 77. There's also, if I'm not mistaken, 258, on spreading propaganda against the state and also against the interests of the country, the sovereignty. And these are, what we say, these are very reasonable arguments or criticisms from the bloggers to say, why are we doing this? Why are we allowing, for example, the land to be taken over, the economy to be determined by another foreign government? So it's things that you would see in the media, you should be seeing in the media, but it's not there. And so these bloggers are charged under those provisions which accuse them of spreading propaganda against the state, against the party. Very, very serious punishments that come with that. So there are many bloggers languishing in jail for that. So I think with Vietnam, the tendency to accuse the bloggers as being anti-state, anti-party is something so serious. Even youths, young people in the university who are voicing their concerns have also been arrested and are jailed. Now on the other hand, in Malaysia, while of course there's a lot of issue about ethnic relations and everything, sometimes it's so trivial, like in the recent fasting month for the Muslims. There are two bloggers who are identified as sex bloggers because they like to talk about, you know, sex and education and whatever in their blogs in Malaysia. So they posted a picture wishing the Muslim readers happy fasting, breaking of fast, and it looked as though they were eating pork. Okay, and you know that pork is also considered as haram among the Muslims. And so there were complaints. I'm not even sure who the complaints came from. And so they were arrested under the Sedition Act. Now, Sedition Act is very clearly about tendency to incite hatred. You don't even have to prove intent as long as a tendency. And so they've been charged under, they've been arrested under three, one, the most severe being the sedition. So this is on the other end. So it becomes a national security issue because you are causing this hatred among people, you know. So these are, I would say, like some of the most recent examples.
How do you see, as you monitor the freedom of expression in the region, how you see that the issue of online freedom and national security will be involved in our region?
I think the battle is actually on the online space because more or less when it comes to other forms of media, I think the states have pretty much had a grip. They know how to control the older forms of media, advertisements being one, other regulations. In some countries, the printing regulations still exist. So in a way, they think they've got a grip of the situation. But with the online, it's almost anarchic, it's almost chaotic, it's you know, the attacks are coming from so many directions, they feel like we are not in control. So, you know, some people say, well, this is the battleground now for online. And I think that despite the technology being a very new technology, the states are employing some of the older laws because with the new laws, you can't really control so much. And so they're putting in a lot of the older laws, libel, sedition, security, blasphemy even, into controlling the infrastructure, the space. So it's actually quite contradictory, but I think this is what they have at hand now. So I think in the future we would see the states doing a lot of investment in order to actually control the online space. And I think the recent disclosures from the US with surveillance, I think it's only the tip of the iceberg, and I think we need to keep an eye on how much states in this region are going down that path from old forms of surveillance to new forms of surveillance.
In Thailand here we have what we know as Computer Crime Act, which is the main tool to restrict freedom of expression for the online media. Can you tell us what are the other similar tools that they have in other countries in the region?
Sure. So in Malaysia, they do have the Communications and Multimedia Act from 1998. On the one hand, it looks very business oriented, very much in terms of spectrum, to deal with telecommunications and all that. But they have quite a lot of provisions on content regulation, and which can be deciphered as also to regulate the online space expression. In Burma, some of these laws still exist. They have Electronic Transactions Act, which could also get you into trouble for communications using online spaces. Indonesia also has some content regulation in the electronics and law. Philippines recently passed a Cybercrime Prevention Act, which includes a provision on libel, which is very unusual, really. And in Malaysia, they also amended the Evidence Act of 1950 to include intermediary liability. So even if you did not post something, but it was done in your premises, then if they cannot locate the person who posted it, you as the owner of the premise, in fact, can become liable for investigations. So they included in another law, the Evidence Act. Cambodia is discussing also a cybercrime law. We are not very sure about what is in there, but I think we can all safely speculate that content regulation will become a major part in all of these laws.
Maybe this will be my last question. So, having said all of that, would you be able to say, among the ASEAN country, the 10 ASEAN countries, which country would you say that's more restrictive in terms of online freedom than the others?
Actually, it's not that difficult because it's a scale that is not a balanced scale, and I will include Timor-Leste as well in the group just because they are a country that we also monitor. So the ones where maybe it's freer at the moment would be Philippines, would be Timor-Leste. Maybe because their infrastructure is not that strong yet, but there's very little in terms of the kind of state response, and so it's still relatively free in that sense. And despite talking about the cybercrime prevention, the general environment in the Philippines is very positive for the online, even in terms of how they discuss keeping the space, promoting regulation that's enabling rather than controlling. Now, a lot of the other countries actually just fall on the other side, and I think that is not because we want to make one look worse than the other, but because from Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Malaysia, Singapore, despite being so developed, and Thailand, the potential for abuse is just so high. I think that is really the problem, and all states have demonstrated that they are not reluctant to use it against critics. The potential for abuse is high because the wordings are, in most of these laws, are quite broad. They have very little legal limitations in that sense defined, and the fact that they tended to use it for government critiques more than cybercrime, for the purposes of cybercrime. I think based on these three reasons, the other 7 countries really will go on the other side of the scale. Yeah.
That's very interesting, and is Kun Kaya have give us some background information that we can follow the trend in the region. Today, I would like to thank Kun Gayatri a lot for joining our program, and I truly believe that we will have her back with us again in the near future. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching our show today. I hope you enjoy it and have learned something from the show. I, On A Biz, hope to see you again next week. Bye for now.